Yo, what up, though? Yeah, I'm talking to you out there. How you doing? How's the week going? How's work? Is it stressing you out? Let me give you a little piece of advice that my Australian friend used to give me. He used to say, take a hit, or take a bamboo schooner, mate. Pretty sure bamboo schooner was like Australian slang for bong hit or something. I don't know if someone from Australia ever hears this. Let me know. So today's show was it's interesting. There's let's call it a not so civil disagreement between my two cohorts about a couple football players and a couple baseball players. Then there's a discussion about jerseys, which we're definitely going to finish on the next episode because Double was just talking some nonsense. So you can look forward to that. And, we just talk a lot of football this week, and Meech gets dragged pretty hard, which brings me to the elephant in the room. Meech, I love you. I love you like I love Wayne Gretzky. I love you like I love cheeseburgers. I love you so much that I would stand outside your bedroom window in the cold rain in California, which would be weird because I'd imagine there's not a whole lot of cold rain in California. But anyway, I would stand outside your bedroom window with a boombox over my head in the cold rain blasting Peter Gabriel. I'm getting emotional. Let's start the show. All right, welcome to Stone Sports once again. I am your host, as always, Bert. With me, as always, I have my co-host, Double. Say what up, Dubs.
What the fuck is up?
And my co-host as well, my OG good friend, Meech. Say what up, Meech.
What up?
All right, so not much to talk about today except for, all the football. So, actually, real quick, I have a question. I don't know if Double's going to be able to weigh in on this, but Meech, Chipotle, Moe's, or Qdoba, which one do you go for?
I've never heard of the last one, but Qdoba's definitely better than fucking Chipotle.
Okay, so you don't know about Moe's?
There's a Moe's.
I mean, the only reason I know about Qdoba is because I have friends that live in Michigan, so there's Qdobas there, but there's not them on the West Coast.
Yeah, I love how he's saying Qdoba.
Qdoba.
It might be Qdoba. I don't fucking know. I don't know.
I have no idea.
I
remember there
Go
was.
Ahead. Go ahead, Double.
My only experience with Qdoba is I went to a Red Sox game once, and they were giving out like free chips y queso. That was what all the slips said. It looked like a little like box top looking thing, and it was just free chips y queso at Qdoba. And we had like 5 of them because people just kept leaving them around. But we never went. I've still never cashed those in.
That's amazing. Yeah, I only asked because I actually like had Chipotle for the first time in like 3 years a couple days ago, and I was like, "This isn't that good, bro." Like,
I'm gonna get murdered for this.
For some reason, people on the West Coast love Chipotle, and I don't know why. It's not good. I don't. You can't convince me it's better than what we have here.
I'll get murdered for this. I haven't had any of the 3.
This is why I started it by saying I'm sure Double can't weigh in on this.
Yep. You're absolutely right. I told my Qdoba story to act like I was part of it, but I have zero fucking clue.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hot take. I think Qdoba's better than Moe's and Chipotle. Fight me. Come on the podcast and defend yourself. All right, so fuck all that noise. Let's get to the football. So I guess we're going to start with the Thursday night game, which was the Tits versus the Colts, the Titans versus the Colts, correct?
Correct, where I absolutely nailed my pick. Meech, you went with the Titans. It was a poor mistake.
Well, it wasn't really a poor mistake.
It was.
They were winning up until the first half, and then second half happened, and for some reason they fell into a special teams hell unlike any other. They had control of the game up until a botched punt for, I think, like 13 yards, and then a blocked punt on their subsequent possession, and that just changed the whole feel of the game.
Right,
that
I
would
heard
be
about
correct.
that. I heard about that. My roommate, like when I was leaving the house, he was like, dude, 2 punts have fucked up here.
They put the punter that had just been signed off the practice squad. Really just muffed a punt for, like I said, I think it was around 13 yards, and that gave the Colts a great positioning. They score a touchdown, then they turn around, block a punt right after that, and that just changed the whole feel of the game. The Tennessee Titans looked that they were in control of the game. They weren't like running away with it, before that, but they were in control of it. And then after that, it just took all of the momentum out of themselves.
I agree with you on that one 100%. That was just the momentum shifter, those punts. But like I touched on last week, Rivers needed to protect the ball. He did that. He had no picks, and I touched on this as well last week. Tennessee has absolutely no pass rush. They have one person with more than 2 sacks on their team, and they had 1 sack as a team against Indy. So if you get no pressure on the quarterback, Rivers has all sorts of time to just do what he wants. And
well,
he
especially when he's a statue in the pocket. So
right,
like, what if you had pressure, you could get on him, he'd be great.
He's stoic in the pocket.
I love all these, like, they're not even like humble brags from Double. He's like, yeah, I said this last week. Yeah, I said this last week.
Yeah, I fucking nailed
was
it,
right.
dude.
I was right.
I walked into work on Thursday night. My boss was like, oh, I took the Titans. And I was like, that's a fucking stupid move. You should have taken the Colts. And I came in the next day and I was like, where's my fucking money? He promptly told me to go fuck myself.
You mentioned momentum, so you guys are momentum believers. I mean, I am too, but like in a weird. You ever like have that argument with a sports fan where someone's like, momentum's not a real thing?
Momentum 100% matters, and I feel like it's most prevalent in the NFL. Like Meech said with the Titans and the Colts, that one punt switched the whole tide of the game.
Yeah, even after the first, he just got like 13 yards on the punt. That just switched the whole complexity of the game. And then even after that, it snowballed even further. But the momentum is definitely a real thing in sports.
Yeah, I always say to the people who are like, it's not a real thing. I'm always like, I'm not saying that like it's some mystical like the Force or some shit like that, but it's definitely like a morale thing. Like you can watch teams in any sport. If they're like putting it on, but the other team just like kind of holds the line and defends really well, you kind of see them lose their morale. And then the other team starts to think like, oh shit, we could fucking win this thing. And they just come out hot as fuck. So like, it's weird to me that there are people that even believe that like momentum is not a fucking thing. So I guess at this point we can move on to the Sunday games, and the first game up on the list is Houston and Cleveland. So why don't you start us off, Dubs?
Well, we thought this was going to be an absolute shootout, and I kind of thought that was doomed from the start when the game got delayed for lightning or whatever the fuck it was. Once that happened, I was like, this game is going to go in the shitter.
I didn't even know that happened.
Yeah, it started at like 140 or some shit. But Cleveland won 10-7. Nick Chubb returned. He looked great. He had 19 carries for 126 and a touchdown. Hunt also added 19 carries for 104. So it looks like they're going to still be splitting them evenly, even though the Chubb's back.
I mean, that was kind of their formula before. And, I mean, Chubb definitely helps. I mean, when you have that two-headed monster, you're definitely an offensive weapon to be reckoned with. And I honestly thought that this would be a higher scoring game, but it was just turned out to be just a slog of a game, dude. Like, just Jesus.
Yeah, I didn't really catch any of it. I saw like a couple of the runs the Browns had, and I was like, Jesus Christ, those are fucking monstrous plays. But I didn't really catch most of the. I'll be honest, most of the 1 o'clock games I didn't really watch a whole lot of. I had a weird sleep schedule last night. I like went to bed, woke up, went back to bed, woke up super early, and then went back to bed and woke up at like 2 p.m. today. So I missed quite a bit of some of those 1 p.m. games.
Well, I made you Google one thing from the Texans game, and that was that fucking fake field goal.
What the fuck?
That shit was atrocious.
It's like the Blake Snell thing. Like, it's just like, what are you thinking, dude?
Yeah. It was a 46-yard field goal attempt, and you're down by 3 in the fucking second quarter. Like,
yeah, like, I was literally about to ask you, like, please explain the thinking to me, because, like,
take the points.
I don't get it.
I don't know how you don't take the points.
Yeah, I don't understand it at all either. Did you watch that play, Meech?
No, I didn't see that play, but I mean, it's just
basically their kicker Fairbairn lined up for a field goal, like nothing was gonna happen. They were, I want to say, on the right hash.
I think you're right.
They're on the 36. So it was like a 46-yard field goal, something like that. And snap comes. Fairbairn fields it, and he just drop kicks it to the 5-yard line, and it just bounced and one dude.
Yeah, which like if it's like, you know, a 60-yard field goal or whatever, like, okay, fine, I get it, but like
okay,
it's 46, like he can make that fucking kick, or can he? I don't really fucking know.
It's a 46-yard field goal. If you're an NFL kicker, you should be able to hit that with some consistency.
Fairbairn's
he's
a
not
quality
terrible.
kicker. He can hit that.
But the only thing I can think of to defend the play call is that maybe they thought that they could get a safety on the defensive end once the offense got the ball. But
yeah, but what kind of shit is that? Like, you give up like a guaranteed point for a calculated risk. That doesn't make any fucking sense to me.
That's what I mean. I would just take the point.
Dude, if you think about it, it makes less sense than pulling Blake Snell. If you think about it, like if you evaluate it from like a coaching standpoint, like if I'm the coach, like when the World Series was happening, when the World Series was happening,
Scott, man,
I looked, yeah, that's what I do when I stutter. I looked at I thought about it objectively, and I was like, I think this is a bad move, but I can't say in his position that I wouldn't make the same move he's making. The pressure he's under, the panic, all that shit. So it's like, but then you look at this play and you're like, nah, bro.
That might be the worst football I've seen. Worst football play I've seen. A little scat man action for you there, Birdie. Since the Colts did that play where they just had no one on the line against the Patriots.
Right.
And they were never supposed to snap the ball. They did, and it became a meme.
Yeah, but it's
what I thought of. That's what I likened it to.
It's crazy. I do not understand it at all. So
something else I don't understand. Yeah. Washington football team.
Washington Football Club, please.
Yeah, WFC. We're making it a thing.
Yeah, we are making it a thing. Yeah, I don't understand them at all. I don't get it. They've done the same thing twice in a row.
They come so close in the end. They dig themselves a hole. They almost come back, and then they just don't have enough.
Yeah, like they get like right, and like I said earlier, like my roommate was like, we were talking about the game while we were watching it, because I came back and I was like, oh shit, they're doing it again, and he was like, yeah, but like this is typical of like both the Lions and the Washington Football Club. Like the Lions give up that lead, and then the Washington Football Club doesn't have enough. Did you watch that game, Meech?
Yeah, it was funny because that's what I said. I said that Detroit would win, but I wouldn't shock me if I looked at the score and was like, why are they close?
You did.
And that's exactly what happened. I mean, like, the Lions just cannot hold a lead, and they had to hope for a long field goal from Prater to not go to overtime in a game that they had a 3-touchdown lead at some point, and you're just like, what is going on?
If you look at the comparison, like Washington, first down wise, they had 13 more first downs than Detroit, 34-21. Time of possession, they had 11 more minutes of possession than the Lions. And Smith threw 55 times. No receiver had over 100 yards. We were talking about that off recording, Meech, how they just have, it feels like they have no targets. I mean, McLaurin is a weapon, but because they have no one else to throw to, it feels like he's just double teamed consistently.
I mean, McLaurin is their only weapon, and now they've started using the other running back as basically another receiver, because they have just no names of receivers there,
And to add to that,
J.D. McKissick. They started using J.D. McKissick in the passing game as basically another receiver.
Right, and to add to that, McLaurin was the closest to 100 yards. I believe he had 95, and after that, it dropped significantly. I think the next highest was in the 60s somewhere.
Yeah, that's one of those crazy like the like what stats that like sometimes you'll spout off, and I'm just like, what the fuck did you just say?
Right, that's what I feel the same way when I'm reading it. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's crazy as shit.
It also doesn't help I can't read my writing, so that also makes me go, what the fuck? But Marvin Jones has had a little bit of a resurgence in the last few weeks. He's got 4 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks, 8 catches for 96 and a touchdown today. Do you think he is starting to become the number 1 target there over Golladay?
I think Golladay just draws more coverage. And this is kind of Marvin Jones's like career has been like this. Like certain games he'll get 5 or 6 targets. It just kind of depends on who Detroit has out there, one, and who the defense that's playing Detroit has covering them. It seems like it just kind of depends on weeks for them, like who their number 1 receiver is. It jumps around.
Right. With Marvin Jones, like in his career, to me, it feels like as soon as you think he's ready to be fantasy relevant and you're like, oh, this guy's coming back. We're going to start this guy. He just drops off the face of the planet again. You don't hear from him for another like 12 to 14 months.
I wouldn't go that far, but definitely whenever he has 2 or 3 games in a row and you pick him up to do a bye week cover or cover an injury on your fantasy team, it just seems like the week you pick him up and start him, he'll put up that 2 points. The dreaded 2 points after showing that the last few games he's had a very low floor. So, he'll put up 10 or 11 for 2 or 3 games. You're like, okay, this is a perfect bye week cover. You go get him, and then all of a sudden
he's got
got
one
a
target
flex that puts up 2 points. Yeah.
Right. DeAndre Swift is starting to become a primetime back for the Lions. They drafted Kerryon Johnson in the second round last year and Swift in the second round this year, and Swift has completely dominated the carries between the two of them at least. Adrian Peterson has still been a factor in the backfield, but it's becoming Swift's backfield.
They've been using Kerryon Johnson more in the pass protection game than they have the run game. So they use him for pass protection. AP and more notably Swift get all of the carries. So.
Every single one.
All right, so moving on to the next game, we got Tampa Bay and Carolina. Why don't you start us off, Meech?
Yeah, Bucks, like I said last week as well, Bucks came back with ferocity to beat the Panthers this week, and I knew they wouldn't look anywhere near what they looked against the Saints against the Panthers this week. They looked like they were clicking on all cylinders. Their offense just was not stoppable.
Yeah, when I was watching the game earlier, I was like, this is exactly what Meech said was going to happen. So
yeah, like the Brady finally had all of his weapons together. Brown, Evans, and Godwin had 19 catches for 238 yards today. And Ronald Jones had a 98-yard touchdown for almost 200 yards on the day. So
yeah, that shit
the
was
weapons
crazy.
in Tampa were on full display.
Yeah, for sure. That run was crazy as shit. And I think it's like one of like 4 to do that, right? I think I saw that stat.
Yeah, something like that. I think I saw that come up.
Yeah, that's fucking nutty. That's real crazy. And now we come to the game that Meech does not want to talk about, but we're going to talk about it anyway. The Giants versus the Eagles.
Daniel Jones had his 3rd career game with 0 turnovers. Think about that.
What's happening?
I mean, he mustered up enough to just mantle the Eagles, Meech, as you like to call them. Maybe that's why they lost, because you called them the
definitely not why they lost. I think you really have to look at their inability to catch a pass. They were 0 for 9 on 3rd down conversions, and I mean, just so many drop balls in times where they desperately needed them caught. And you can bitch about Wentz all you want, and he does take sacks. He does hold on to the ball too long. He does even make some bad throws, but if your pass catchers can't catch the ball that your quarterback is throwing, you're not going to have success. And that's exactly what happened this week with the Eagles. And I mean, happens a lot with the Eagles. I've never seen a team drop so many catchable balls.
Yeah. Sad boy shots were coming from you guys this week, not our boy Danny.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's been 3 games now without any sad boy Danny shots. It's fucking depressing me.
He's transferred it on to the Air Bear. Our boy.
Yeah, the Air Bear. What's up with that, man? I need my guy to
see it.
I don't like seeing it at all. Well, after that was Jags and Packers, right?
Yeah. I thought that one was going to be a slaughter. And you know me, Meech. I'm the first person to admit when I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, and that's what I mean. It's funny because I was like, the Packers going to win. They're going to win, and yet it might not be a blowout. And I don't know why I thought that, because every indication pointed to that it would be a blowout.
Yeah,
I just knew that the Packers. I honestly get a feeling that they're not as good as we think they are. And that showed today.
Would you?
I was actually going to ask that question. I was literally going to go there, Meech. Way to take the words out of my mouth.
Would you care to explain, Meech, why you think that?
I mean, I just think their defense, which started out looking solid, has not been. And I think you look at their offense and you look at how, I mean, I know Lazard's hurt right now. MVS got a lot of targets today opposite Davante Adams, but we kind of touched on it last week's episode. They just don't have the weapons in the receiving core. Davante Adams is it. And their horrible draft just shines through every single week. Every week you look at Jordan Love on the sideline when you have one of the best QBs in the game on the field, still in his prime, and you look at the two running backs who are on the field, neither of which is their second round pick, and you just like, Jesus Christ, I don't know how a front office could botch a draft so badly, but they've done it. And that's, I think, really what shows through. I mean, everyone said they needed a wide receiver. This was a wide receiver rich draft, and they just didn't do it. So I think it's a couple things. It's their defense not being as potent as it was a year ago, and it's their offense not being able to get the ball to anyone except for their two running backs that they didn't draft and Devontae Adams.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And to follow up question on that, how long until Aaron Rodgers gets sick of it and says, I want the fuck out?
I mean, I don't think he has to. I think he can literally just say, I mean, you signed my replacement, right? So
I had a question about the Jaguars too. Kind of the complete opposite, like
double
popularity
fielding questions
of Aaron Rodgers is Robinson, the undrafted running back for the Jaguars. Do you think he can be a cornerstone running back for the Jags? And is there such thing as a cornerstone running back?
There's definitely a cornerstone running back. You just don't draft him in the first or second round because it's not worth it, because you can find undrafted guys like James Robinson. You know, guys you don't even know his name, but are potent in the offense. I mean, he is one of the best running backs in the league right now, and he was an undrafted free agent. That's why you don't spend draft capital on running back.
Meech needs a copy of Meet the Robinsons on Blu-ray.
It's a pretty good one. All right, so let's move on to Buffalo and Arizona, which was a very interesting game in a way.
And the first game I was wrong on today, well, besides the Eagles. But,
yeah, besides the Eags.
Yeah, they fuck me just like they fuck Meech every week. So
you know, you guys are jumping all over that nickname. You guys are haters. I don't understand it, but whatever.
I was literally about to say, like, I'm sorry, we've been dragging you for that for like 2 episodes now.
Yeah,
it was bad though. I don't feel bad for dragging you for it. I think it was necessary.
Was it bad, or is it just another name that you guys...
If I said some shit like that, I would expect you guys to drag me too.
You say shit like that all the time. Like Gronk is better than Tony Gonzalez. You said
that. Let's talk about it. Let's talk.
You also said Edgar Martinez is better than David Ortiz. That's not the fucking case. We each got one of these, Meech. We're both wrong.
Oh, but you're admitting you're wrong.
Can you do that? I guess I'm the bigger man in this argument.
I mean, Edgar Martinez is the original DH. So
okay, but that doesn't mean he's the best. We talked about this before.
You said over and over again that Gronk, and I said, look at the stats. Gonzalez is crazy.
I said the same thing with Martinez and Ortiz. You were like, no, I don't think so. And I was like, I'm going to look at the stats. And then we went through it stat by stat, and you're like, oh.
Except for the fact that he was a better hitter. He had a better average. He didn't just try and hit home runs.
Neither did Ortiz. He had like 286 in his career.
All right, boys. This
in a bandbox of ballparks in the AL East.
I don't like that he's got to have the last word.
Well, I'm going to have the last word.
In the smallest ballparks in America, in the AL East, he hit 286. That's because he jacked it over the wall half the time. Because they're all tiny-ass stadiums.
Then every Yankee record ever should not count if we're going to go.
I agree with that.
All right, well, you've agreed on something. So let's move on to the Buffalo-Arizona game, which I don't think we ever actually really touched on. So
I don't think we did.
I think we got way off the rails there, boys. So let's get this train back on the rails and get it to our destination. So Buffalo, Arizona. Why don't you start us off, Dubs?
Buffalo lost 30-32. Again, admitting I'm wrong. I was wrong on Buffalo. Kyler showed out. He was kept in check a little bit in the first half, and then, I mean, while we were here prepping before the show, we saw a couple times Kyler just broke free and got into the end zone, and that's what he's been doing all year. He's now in double digits for rushing touchdowns on the year. First quarterback to do so this season. and he's got Arizona clicking, and I'm excited to see what they do against Seattle next week.
Yeah, first half of that game was definitely. I thought the Bills did what I thought they would, which is hold them in check, and they did really. And then the second half, it's like Cliff Kingsbury came out of the locker room with changes, implemented those changes, and really had no problem beating that defense in the second half of that game. It will be interesting to see how the Cards do against the Seahawks, both 6-3, upcoming Monday Night Football. So we'll see who can take that next Monday Night Football game to be atop the NFC West division.
I also just love the Cardinals jerseys. They just pop to me. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. They're all right. They don't pop to me. They're no Chargers jersey or anything.
I agree. They're not the Chargers or the Panthers or anything like that, but I would say they're a top 10 NFL jersey.
I don't know. That's tough. Next week we'll have to rank NFL jerseys and figure out what's the top NFL jersey. But speaking,
it's the Chargers.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of the Chargers, they played the Miami Dolphins, as Meech would like to say. I'm just dragging Meech today. I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry. I do love you, but you just make it so easy. So
I mean, you say that. I don't even remember saying that last week, so I don't.
Yeah, it's true. I when I go and edit it, I have to hear it like 800 times. So I probably notice things you don't. But anyway, we got derailed again, so we're gonna get the train back on the tracks, and we're gonna head to the station, which is the LA Chargers versus the Miami Dolphins. Why don't you start us off, Meech?
I mean, Tua looked good again. I mean, there's nothing much else to say there. Chargers again lost because why wouldn't they? They get close enough to lose, and then they're close enough to win, and then they end up losing because it's what the Chargers do.
Right. This is why I want you to be a Chargers fan, Birdie, because with the Mets and all the other teams you like, we can just watch you get built up and built up and built up for you to get torn back down, and it will be
right now.
an absolute gem of a show for everyone, except for you, obviously. But
Yeah.
anyway,
I can't take it.
Tua and Herbert went at it for the first time in their careers. Neither really stood out to me. Tua was 15 for 25 with 169 and 2 touchdowns. Herbert was 20 for 32 with 187, 2 touchdowns and a pick, and he also ran one in. Tua got the edge, just a little bit of an edge on Herbert, and that was enough for the Dolphins to pull this one out. But it was a really close game, and I'll be excited to see Herbert and Tua go at it in the future. The Air Bear.
Al Bell, my
Al
guy,
Bell.
Al Bell. All right, and then we had the Broncos and the Raiders.
Las Vegas won 37-12. Drew Lock threw 4 interceptions, and the Broncos had 5 turnovers.
Yeah, that's a big oof.
Yeah,
Big oof.
another way he looks like Russ, apparently, because Jesus Christ. I thought he was going to have a big game. I thought he was going to go against one of the worst rated pass defenses, and it just did not work. Everything he did just got intercepted. Every throw he made got intercepted, it seemed like.
It wasn't even like the Raiders defense looked like suffocating. It was just Locke looked horrible. The Raiders rush game this season has been really good. We touched on it a little bit last week, and they picked up where they left off. They had over 200 yards rushing as a team, and they had under 200 yards passing and 0 passing touchdowns. So this team has found their identity. They're sticking with it, and it's been working for them the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Gruden actually heard my pleas to get Josh Jacobs the ball and call plays that would result in touchdowns for him, because he absolutely balled out.
Straying away from the Spider 2Y banana, getting a little run game going.
I think he knows what he's doing on offense, as far as he knows what kind of plays he wants to call, because you will see games where he dominates through the air and then dominates on the ground, and it just seems like he definitely has a game plan every week. I still think he's overrated, even though I absolutely look like an idiot calling what I did. The Raiders absolutely smashed the Broncos this week, and it wasn't even close. So
could have told you that.
Crazy.
There it is again. Double being not so humble. And then let's see, we had the Seahawks and the Rams, which your boy Russell Wilson got beat the fuck up again.
Yeah, Meech, you want to continue the Locke and Wilson comparison?
I mean, I'll continue a comparison wherein you were wrong. You said that the Rams offense would not tear apart the Seahawks defense, or you
They
did say
didn't
that they
tear
would,
them apart.
but you also said that the Seahawks were way too much for the Rams defense to handle, and I'm pretty sure that turned out not to be true.
I'm the first person to admit when I'm wrong, Meech, like I said. And I was wrong on that one. I'll give you that. DK Metcalf, my boy, he didn't show up. And he only had 2 catches for 28 yards.
Yeah, that doesn't look so
Absolute
great
dud.
on us.
Yeah.
No, it
Well, I mean,
doesn't.
he is one of the best. It's also you go up against one of the best corners in the league. So what are you supposed to do? I mean, Ramsey is a bigger guy, just like Metcalf. Ramsey's bigger than most cornerbacks. He's dominating, just like DK Metcalf is one of the best at his position
Right.
due to his size.
Right.
You could say this exact same thing about Ramsey.
Look at Meech. Check out the big brain on Meech. All right, let's move on to Pittsburgh Cincinnati. How about that game, huh?
Well, we at the start, you're like, "Oh, this is an interesting game," and then it became not so interesting anymore.
Yeah, I know. I was watching.
Pittsburgh moves to 9-0, remaining the only undefeated team in the NFL. Big Ben had a good day. He found multiple receivers. Juju had a good day. Deontay Johnson had a good day. And they kept Burrow in check on the defensive end, and is really what I expected to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's crazy if you say this says too much about the Steelers, but to me, this also says the fact that they're starting to establish their teams as one of the few teams that you actually believe is a good enough team to make it to the Super Bowl. You know, we talked last week about the Chiefs passing the eye test, essentially, their defense and their defense being just good enough to stop someone and their offense being electric. It's kind of the opposite way. The Steelers usually lead with that defense, and their offense is good enough to win. And now you've seen that their offense, even in a week where Big Ben didn't practice because he was on the COVID list till he did a walkthrough yesterday.
Right.
Even then, you see him clicking with this offense, and you really do get the feel like this team is for real. Once again, don't want to blow out proportion. This was against the Bengals.
Right.
It's just seeing after the week of Big Ben not being able to practice, the offense still looking as solid, because I don't think any of us have had questions about the defense.
No, absolutely not. But I agree with you. The offense was sort of in question, and it's nice to see after a week where Big Ben didn't even practice, they're able to come out and execute like that. It does make you think that they passed the eye test and that they could be a competitor.
Yeah, and it's their first time ever being 9-0, right? I think it's the first time in their history that they've ever been 9-0.
Yeah, first time in franchise history for sure.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. And it's also like kind of crazy because, you know, like we talked about last week, like COVID has kind of caused this like crazy inconsistency like league round. It's kind of wild to see it like, you know, affect. COVID hits that team, but then they seem to still just like pull it off. There's no inconsistency due to it. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Well, yeah, but you also have a quarterback that has worked with half these receivers. I mean, he hasn't worked with some of the newer ones, but he has worked with Washington. He has worked with Juju. He has worked with Connor. You know, like all of these guys, he's been in that offense. He knows how to run that offense. It's not a new situation for him. It's not a new offense for him. So that speaks to, you know, we talked about the rougher situations being quarterbacks that went into new offenses or pieces that weren't together last year, whereas they added some new pieces and they seem to find wide receivers at will in the draft. I mean, their wide receiver drafts are insane who they find. But I mean, that aside, like they seem to be able to plug any wide receivers in this offense and just go. And I think that the continuity that offense has helped in a week like last week where Big Ben didn't see the field until a Saturday walkthrough. So it's kind of crazy, but I think that's one of the examples of continuity and how that helps you in the COVID era, basically.
Right, like continuity in a roster, you mean?
Yeah.
Right. Sorry, Dale, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're good. I was just going to touch on the Steelers more. That continuity has been the name of their game. I've seen a lot of people this week talking about Mike Tomlin finally seeming like he's getting his due as a elite coach around the league. And like everyone knows he's a good coach. He's been around forever. The teams are always competitive, but people are starting to talk about him as one of the best coaches of this era. And do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think
100% agree with that.
coach.
Yeah.
And I think last year I heard a bunch of analysts bring it up last week that last year was his best job of coaching because they got off to such a poor start, and then they almost made the playoffs. I mean, they almost made the playoffs after a horrible start, and I think that's when you saw his coaching really shine through. But I mean, it's the same. I look at head coaches, you can tell how valuable they are. Is whenever their team isn't patient or their fan base isn't patient, then you see others start to line up to hire them, and they're like, wait a second, maybe we should keep this guy. So like you saw the same thing last year with the Ravens and Harbaugh, right? Like they were like, oh, maybe we didn't win, maybe we move on from Harbaugh. I swear to God, you had like 6 teams line up and say, can we interview him? And then they were like, wait, let's pull this back here, maybe we should extend him. And then that's what they ended up doing.
Right.
Like coaches are talked about certain ways, and then you see how other franchises react to them almost being available or potentially being available, and then you see like, okay, yeah,
no, never mind.
Coach.
Right.
Yep.
And Tomlin's I feel like he's been criminally underrated, and it's just been nice to see him finally get his due. I'm not a big Steelers guy, but it's one of the top class organizations in the NFL, and he's been a big part of it in the last decade and a half or whatever, however long he's been there.
They're patient. The way they run that organization shows. I think they've had 4 head coaches in the last like 60, 70 years.
Yeah, that's
number.
Fucking crazy.
It's crazy. And you just see that the continuity in that whole organization. They're known for being a class organization. They're known for handling stuff correctly. You saw 2 divas, which is rare for Pittsburgh to deal with, in both Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. And that kind of, I think, made people question the leadership of Tomlin. And at the end of the day, you saw once you got those toxic basically characters out of your locker room,
right,
you're able to blend together the whole of the product, which I think is really just the Steeler way. It's all about the whole, not about individuals.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like Double said, I'm no Steelers fan either, but like you got to give credit where credit's due. Like they do run the organization like pretty fucking great. So moving on, last game that happened is the San Francisco and the New Orleans game. Why don't you start us off, Dubs?
New Orleans had a huge week last week against Tampa Bay, and they picked up pretty much right where they left off. They defeated San Francisco 27-13, but we talked about it a little bit before we started recording. San Francisco is like not even a team right now. Half their roster is injured or on COVID. They have no Jimmy G. Their wide receivers are all questionable every week. But one positive to take away.
We talked about last week on the podcast too. Like this team is just a former shell of itself at this point, and I think it's rough to kind of evaluate anything on this team with all of the injuries and COVID lists ads that they've had.
I agree.
This season, I mean, they've no one's been hit harder by the injury bug than them, and I mean, you just see it week in and week, the last couple weeks for sure.
And at this point, if you're San Francisco, I feel like you just got to look ahead to next season.
Yeah,
but that's not going to be too hard for them because they draft incredibly well, and their rookies are really that they drafted this year are starting to come along nicely. Ayuk has had a couple of good games in a row. He missed some time with COVID, but coming back, he had 7 catches for 75 and a touchdown. On the defensive side, their first-round pick, Javon Kinlaw out of South Carolina, had a sack and a half today. So it's nice to see.
Looks impressive. It seems like he makes at least one big play every game he's in. It seems like
he seems like that kind of gadget receiver every team has, that they run out of a screen and all of a sudden he's gone for 40 yards and you're like, whoa, where'd that guy come from? That seems like what Ayuk is going to be for the 49ers. But on the Saints side, Breeze got hurt, and we got to see famous Jameis's debut in the black and gold down there in New Orleans. He had 6 of 10 for 63, no touchdowns, but eyes, were they fixed? What do we think? Did the LASIK work?
I mean, it's hard to tell.
Not enough of a sample size.
That's what I was gonna say. It's too early to tell. What happened to old Drew Brees? What was the injury?
Brain deterioration.
I think it was a
arm
rib
fell
injury.
off. I don't know. He's getting old, man.
No, really. What was it?
He got hit on a drop back, and then he got hit in the ribs. I believe he's getting an MRI after the game. He was slated to get an MRI. Probably he was on the sideline with his helmet on the rest of the game, so I'm sure Peyton was just like, we don't need to put him out there.
Right.
We're in this game. We'll see what happens with the diagnostics afterwards, and we'll move forward with it. But like I said, it's hard to tell who's good in this offense because Sean Payton is one of those people like Andy Reid, who is one of those older generation coaches who doesn't really get the credit for being like a quote unquote offensive genius, but they have staying power as offensive masterminds, I feel like. And you see that, like, Andy Reid's time in Philly really did kind of wear out its welcome, but I knew he was still a good coach. And like I said, it's all about what you see other franchises doing. The Chiefs scooped him up in like a day, literally a day. They scooped him up. So like, I feel like him, Andy Reid, and Sean Payton are kind of those forgotten offensive geniuses that we don't really give credit to. That being said, it's hard to evaluate your backup quarterback when you have such a solid system in place for them to succeed.
For sure.
On another little side note here with the Saints, people were curious if Brees did go down at some point, who the replacement quarterback would be, if it would be Taysom Hill or if it would be Jameis Winston. And today we got that answer that Jameis Winston would be the one playing quarterback if Brees went out. So with that being the case, is Taysom Hill's contract really worth it if you're not going to pay him? Or if you're not going to play him at quarterback, why pay him like a quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys even know this about me, but I assume you do. Like, I'm a big contract management guy. So, like, to me, it's like if you're not going to play him, then no, it's not worth keeping him. But that's just me. What do you think, Meech?
I mean, I think the way they use him doesn't warrant that kind of contract. I think it's like $7 million a year.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I think it was 16, I want to say, over 2.
Okay.
Ooh, yeah, so like 8 a year.
Yeah, so like 7 to 8 a year.
I might be wrong on that.
It's a little stiff. I mean, it's somewhere in that range. It's right there.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's a little stiff of a price to pay for a third string tight end who runs a wildcat offense and can be listed at tight end in your fantasy league. If you do a lot of things, none of them super well, and I think I thought that he would not be the next in line if Brees went down. I legitimately thought that Jameis would get the start or take over if he needed to in Brees' absence. So, I mean, this was confirmed, like we said, but I do think that contract doesn't look quite as nice if he's the third string quarterback, third string tight end, and a wildcat quarterback.
He's basically playing 7 or 8 times a game for $7 or $8 million a year.
Yeah, come on now. That's the answer to that question, Double, from me is like a hard no.
Yeah,
hard no.
I'm gonna agree with you guys on that one. That's the second time we've had a little Letterkenny action. You had
did we?
Yeah, Meech said that's what I said, and then continued to say what he said.
Oh yeah. No, dude, the best part of that show, my favorite thing that happens on that show is when Wayne will go, "Okay, Derry, okay, Derry." That shit kills me every fucking time, man. I can do that shit all day.
Mine is always, is that what you appreciate about me?
I love that scene where he does that shit and then he runs across the field and stops halfway through and turns around and goes, "I'm too fat to run."
So good.
All right, well, that about wraps up the Sunday recap. So let's move on to the preview section of the show. The preview section. So we're going to start with Monday. The preview section of the show.
Preview.
All right, let's get back on the rails, boys. Let's get back on the rails, boys.
What just happened in this?
Fuck off. Just having fun, man. So Monday night's game is Bears Vikings. So who are we gonna take, Meech, and why?
I think I'm gonna take the Vikings here.
Yeah, you would.
I just don't know what. I mean, what are your thoughts on this game? Because this is where I stand on it. I stand on the Vikings have won 3 straight. The Bears have lost 3 straight. The Vikings seem to have found their happy medium with just not really happy medium, just like, let's ride Dalvin Cook and let's just put him at our offense and just let him carry the team to victory every week. That being said, like, I just don't know. Like, this is just such a shit show of a matchup, and it could end up being a really good game, and it might be. I just don't have really any feelings about it other than I think the Vikings will win just because 3 straight, and it looks like they finally realized that they should use Dalvin Cook all the time.
Yeah, that was when they were the most successful last year, is when they take the ball out of Kirk Cousins' hands and just give it to Dalvin Cook and let him coast. I mean, he's had 200 yards last week, and I mean, he's been electric. But I'm still going with the Bears. I don't know why, kind of like you don't know why you're going with the Vikings. I can't bet on Kirk Cousins in primetime football. I just won't let myself do it. I'd rather bet on the big dick. Despite not having his weapons, yeah, I'm
you've also seen it
Dick.
First. You've had a front row seat to Big Dick Nick, and
so did you, and your fucking people ran him out of town, Meech. You ran him out of town. Look where you're at now.
I don't agree with Howie on a lot of things.
Daniel Jones.
I don't agree with Howie Roseman on a lot of things, the Eagles GM, for people that aren't like Eagles fanboys.
Thank you.
And one of those things is passing up Justin Jefferson, who has looked amazing for the Vikings. And yet we passed on him for Jalen Reagor. So, there are a few things that I can question, one of which is running Big Dick Nick out. But like I said, having to pay the contract that the Jags offered him to get him away from the Eagles, I don't know about that. More potential with Wentz, but this game just seems like it. I don't think either of us are good. Like, I told you so next week, right? Because both of us are so unsure on where we stand on both of these teams. We're just kind of picking one.
Yeah, I'm throwing shit against the wall and hoping it'll stick.
Yeah, exactly.
But after that, it's the Monday night game. Seahawks, Cardinals. Meech, we kind of touched on it already. Should shape up to be a pretty good game. And
well, Thursday
go either way. Oh, Thursday night.
Thursday night game is the Cardinals Seahawks, first place in the division. Both teams come in with a 6-3 record. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens in that game. Seahawks, will they rebound from 2 losses that they've put up in back-to-back weeks? Will the Cardinals keep rolling behind Kyler Murray?
Yeah, what's the pick? What's the Meech pick? You got to pick, bro. You got to pick. Come on, you got to choose one. Gun to your head. Let's go.
Cardinals. I didn't pick the Cardinals this week.
Let's go.
I regretted it. Yeah.
Me and Meech are on the Cardinals for Thursday night, and I was right last Thursday. So, Meech, maybe you'll be on the right side this week.
Yeah, Meech, maybe you should put some money on this one. Let's start testing the metal.
It's about the company you keep, Meech.
Yeah, and apparently about the Cardinals uniforms, which seem to pop according to Dubs. We're gonna do that next week.
I'm not saying they're the best.
I don't know if that's true.
I don't either.
I will disagree with you on that, sir.
Give me 3 other than the Chargers and the Panthers that are better right now.
Chargers, Panthers, Steelers.
No.
Yep. Steelers for sure.
Seahawks.
No, not on the Seahawks. Disagree with you there.
Here.
Yeah, 100% get out of here with that.
Get out of here.
Chiefs?
Get out of here.
I don't like the Chiefs, but I do like both the Broncos and the Raiders. The Raiders have that black with the silver that just looks so perfect.
Yeah, Raiders is dope.
I love the blue, the orange, and the white that the Broncos kind of meshed together.
Not a fan. Not a fan.
I hate both of those.
I think the Vikings uniforms pop more than the Cardinals.
Hold on here. No one hates the Raiders jerseys. They are clean as shit, dude.
I 100% hate the Raiders
jerseys. Why? Defend yourself.
The same reason I hate the fucking Spurs jerseys. They're plain as shit. I'm good. I'll pass on this shit.
No.
Yeah.
The Spurs jerseys are drab. There's no color.
Yeah.
That's the same as the Raiders.
No, it's not. No,
100%.
The black is not as dark, and the silver's not as bright on the Spurs jerseys. It's like dull.
Plus, the Raiders logo is dope as shit.
Yeah,
the Raiders logo's dope, but their jerseys suck.
On the Raiders pop, dude.
Also, Raiders fans suck. The Raiders suck.
What about?
But if you're going strictly on jerseys, the Raiders jerseys are not that good. I would put them in the bottom third of the jerseys in the league.
That's just a fact that you're wrong because they're constantly rated at the top, dude. They are always.
And I don't know why they should be.
Like people make there's a rap song called "Got My Raiders Cap." Like shout outs to demigods. Like that's a song that exists for a fucking reason, bro.
Okay, I can make a fucking song about some bullshit that's not true too.
But I mean, even the Vikings jerseys pop more, bro.
Nah.
Okay. All right. Well.
Yeah. go with your cards and deny that.
I'm gonna come to the show on
Raiders
Wednesday.
jerseys pop.
I'm gonna come to the show on Wednesday with my top 10 NFL jerseys. And are we just gonna do base like home jerseys?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think that's like beyond that. It's gonna be like too much to handle. Too much information.
I'm gonna come with my poll, my top 10 next week. You guys can do the same, and we'll put in the comments. We'll have a little vote. Because you guys will get absolutely fucking shit on. Your jersey taste is.
The Raiders are like I've never heard anyone deny that the Raiders are one of the best jerseys in all of sports. I've never.
You just did adamantly, and I gave you fucking reasons.
Yeah, I've heard like the Raiders,
you're a clown.
The Blackhawks.
Meech, you know what? I'm glad you finally had your first time.
Jesus Christ. All right. I've had enough of this. I'm sure everyone listening has too. That's going to do it this week for us on Stone Sports. Shout outs, Letterkenny. Shout outs, Qdoba. Anything else you want to say, boys, before we go?
Fuck you, Meech.
Fuck you, Dubs.
All right. Follow us on social media. That's Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. It's all Stone Sports Podcast. Peace out. We'll see you next time.
That was a hot mess inside a dumpster fire, inside a train wreck.